But let's get to the important part here. What do you need college for? You want to be a doctor?
Good point.
Yes.
Okay,
STEM.
good.
STEM.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Well, if
not
you
even
can do
STEM.
it,
Not
you
even
don't really
STEM.
need to
No.
go to
You want to be a
doctor.
doctor? You want to be a lawyer? Congratulations. Or you want to work in academia? Like,
Right.
okay, if you want to be a scientist or a researcher, you do that at universities with grants, but you don't even really have to. You can do private research.
Same with lawyers.
What do
Now,
you need college for?
You don't anymore.
What do you need high school for?
Well, you don't
Socialization,
necessarily
but
need
even then.
college in the institution that you're thinking of college, but you do need higher education. So you would need education
Or
somehow. Oh, if you're going to be an engineer, right, you need to learn how to be an engineer.
But
Otherwise,
you can do that on your own.
I mean, how many people are disciplined enough to really learn? And then how do you know that they're getting quality
You have to take a
education
test, maybe.
information?
But you think
and-
you need a teacher? Is this? It goes
Well,
back
hold
to
on.
like
I think you need,
apprenticeship.
yes,
and,
I think
Right,
you need a
but-
teacher.
well, a
So-
good teacher or a good mentor can really
Are you-
rocket fuel your
Right,
your
so
Are you,
what I'm
are you
saying
familiar
is-
with hackerspaces?
Yeah, but all I'm saying is that so you don't like the institution of university, fine, but you still have to have higher education somehow.
Sure, but I mean, we have the internet.
Yeah, but you've got to filter the quality of the information the person's going to get, right? I guess through taking the test, but then you're going to get a bunch of like Trump universities.
Things that require certification and tests, like being a doctor, you have to have college. There's got to be some regulation to that because you're literally working on people. As for engineering,
You're building buildings and bridges and roads. You have to have. There's got to be some regulation on that too.
yeah, but it's the filter there is government regulation and the corporations that are doing that work. So if someone hired, like when I hire like a carpenter to build something, I have no idea what their qualifications are. I don't ask for their degree.
But part of education.
And I got to be honest, like a lot of the stuff I get built doesn't come from somebody with a degree.
Right, right. Yeah, but part of the education experience is the peer groups and learning from those peer groups and being able to bounce things off of and the competition within those peer groups.
And those exist outside of universities.
They don't exist as well, I don't think. And I think the
You're
competition.
right. I think they're better.
You're kind of paying for a mentorship, and they call it teachers now, and they stick 30 of you in a room. Back in the day, it was you and the mentor, and the mentor would give you, this is how you do
Right.
it.
But
Show
that was
me.
also
now
how
you
many
do
people
it.
back
You're doing
then.
good.
I'll tell
Now
you
we have
what.
8 billion people.
So we're trying to.
I had a friend who was going to college for music business,
Right.
and I asked her, like, so you've been in college for 3 years. What do you do? She's like, well, I'm in school. And I was like, I know, but you're taking music business, right? So you like organize stuff? Have you like worked with like record labels? No, I'm in school. And I was like, okay, I'm a high school dropout and I've already organized some massive shows that brought in tens of thousands of people. How do I have more experience in music business than you do? And you've been going for 3 years and dumping $30-something thousand a year into this.
Right. Some jobs don't require it, right? Like even the industry I got into, radio, when I graduated from college, I went into terrestrial radio, did FM radio for years, right? I didn't need a college degree to do FM radio, but the way I even got into FM radio was through college radio.
Did you do college? You did your
right,
college
I did
radio
college
station?
radio, right, and then I did an internship at a terrestrial radio station through college, and that's how I got into the industry. From that point, no one has ever asked me about my college degree since I've had my career, but at least it got me in there. But I also think that for other fields in particular, is that the competition inside of the universities, when you are competing, like my last university, we were graded on a curve. So you're graded against, you can't get an A unless you are the best student in that class. It's not about you just passed the test and got the information right. You got to show some level of like genius.
How does a curve work exactly?
Well, I wanted to bring up a point of college. So there's somebody I knew a long time ago, and they had gotten a job with a web dev firm. They were like 19 at the time. And I was really surprised. I was like, wow, you got hired at this web development company? You're only like 19. And he was like, yeah. And he said what happened was fairly easy to understand. All of the college grads who went to the company said, I have student loans to pay back. I absolutely have to make, this salary, $35 a year or whatever. And then the company said, we don't have $35 a year. Like, we don't make that much money. We have, like, we're all making, table scraps. And along comes this 19-year-old who's a high school dropout who has a portfolio of all this web development. And they're like, this is a great portfolio. And what coding languages do you know? And he was like, here's my resume. How much do you want? And he was like, how much can you offer? And they were like, 27. And mind you, this is 15 years ago. And he was like, wow, not 27? That's amazing. And they were like, you're hired. And he said his boss told him explicitly, like, we would have loved to have hired any of these college grads, but we just needed someone who knew how to do it. And the problem was their salary demands were too high because of their student loan debt.
Right, so that's what I think we have to correct. I don't think it has to be like, oh, we have to just get rid of college, because then I think we run the risk of reeling ourselves into a third world country with uneducated people. And
I think colleges are uneducating people.
Well, in some ways. I mean, I understand that.
I had similar for you. I was a theater major, and a lot of my college experience was doing plays. So I would even get credit for doing a play. I'd get 3 credit hours, and that was like on-the-ground training. So I came out of college being a professional, semi-professional. A lot of people, like your friend that you were mentioning earlier, apparently didn't doing their business major.
I think the whole thing's a scam.
Depends on the college, depends on the program.
But here's the thing. So my dad was one of the earliest coders of coders. Okay, so back in the 80s, before anybody was doing any of that stuff, my dad was like getting a math degree. They didn't even have computer science as a degree. They didn't have boot camps for coding or anything like that. Nobody was thinking this was going to be a thing. And he went to college for coding, for computer science, and then was, worked for the power company doing all of their stuff. And that was, in order for those early guys to get that information, they had to go to college in order to get it.
Before the internet.
My grandpa,
before the internet.
My grandpa created his own operating system for his tax business, and he didn't go to school for it.
Yeah, but still, like, in order to get, like, for example, Boeing runs on the same now operating the code that my dad knew. It's like they're trying to recruit dinosaurs out of retirement to come out, and like they're like, oh crap, we don't have anybody to. No young kids know this code. It's only the older guys that know it. We need these guys to come out of retirement. But all of those guys learn that same language. I mean, you could maybe create your own, and I know even when my dad was doing it, he created his own things here and there. But to create something that is cohesive across large corporations or large companies that could be utilized together, integrated, everybody needed to have that same knowledge. And even now, they're struggling because they can't find people with that knowledge.
I'm proficient in the Adobe suite. I didn't go to school for it. And it's cross-company and cross-computer and cross-program, We use a bunch of different...
somebody created Adobe Suite, and my guess is they went to college.
It was technically, it was a bunch of different people who are creating a bunch of different programs that eventually got bought out by the Adobe Corporation, I guess.
Yeah.
But there's also open source versions where communities just develop things by sharing free and open information. And
Apache. That's a good company. It does a lot
Kden
of
Live
open office and stuff.
for video editing and stuff. Ubuntu for operating systems.
I'm thinking about like science, and a lot of science you don't need, but like uniform, like you were talking about uniformity of information, so that they can like learn the language of science, like all the equations that have led to the next equation up to the equations of all. So they memorize this language, basically a language. You don't necessarily need a college, but having an organized place where people can all go or to learn it all the same thing, so they can communicate.
But I still...
Online hacker spaces?
No, physical hacker
But
spaces.
you need people from all around the world to be able to... I mean, it could be physical, too.
I think we need to bring people back to, like, apprenticeships and, like, hanging out and having community and learning skills.
Yeah, I mean, I do think we need to change the way higher education is implemented and how it's viewed. Change the idea that, it has to be through university, but I still think we need higher education.
The age of automation on the way, the COVID lockdown causing all this unemployment, maybe it's the time for people to become mentors and to offer what they know to the younger generation.
Yeah. But see, and also, hey, look, the pandemic was this is sort of my point. I don't think people learn as well unless they're with the group and they've got the competition, they've got the collaboration, they have people to talk to, they have peers groups. And now what we've seen online is people are not able to do it as well.
But there's nothing saying universities need to be that.
No, it could be.
Well, I'll put it this way.
But I don't think you could just get rid. I mean, you're wanting to get rid of universities like some people want to get rid of private health insurance.
I think that universities have become predatory systems that exploit young people. They send these 18-year-olds into a system with no idea what their major should be. I think around half of people change their major, and then they get saddled with massive debt they can never pay off, which is a permanent indentured servitude, which does nothing to benefit them.
But that's the system. That's the issue.
The business of the
higher
university.
education.
The business
I
of
feel like that about the
university.
church. The business of the church bothers me, but the church doesn't bother me.
Right.
The university system, at this point, in my opinion, is completely corrupt and broken, and it can't be salvaged.
Well, that's how Bernie Sanders feels about private health insurance.
And how I feel about the church.
I'm not saying abolish. I'm not saying abolish the idea of higher education. We can have universities. We just have to kind of purge and refresh them. And then I'm all for like everyone you show up to a university and you hang out and you have fun and you build things and you explore things. And
You're just trying to take away the fun. Beer pong, you know.
Hackerspaces are pretty.
No,
fun.
I want way more.
We could build a hackerspace. That'd be.
We should. We actually.
A bunch of 3D
should.
printers, lasers.
I was a member of Hackerspace and I built a remote control can of green tea.
We just got a couple lasers.
And listen,
I know. I got my face burned into.
Nice.
Cardboard out there.
You may be wondering how, in fact, did you create a remote control can of green tea? Did you put wheels on it?
Yeah. What is that?
Magic.
What I did was I took a piece of plastic with a couple motors on it. I took the bottom of an Arizona can and I put it slightly off axis on one of the motors, and then taped it on. And then on the back, I put a motor going the perpendicular to create gyroscopic stabilization. What would happen is the off-axis Arizona can in the front, when it spun, would create a vibration. The vibrations would reduce the friction between the can and the table to near zero, and so it would cause the can to float. You've seen these things. They have a little football game where the vibration makes them move around. You control it by spinning the reverse gyroscopic stabilizer, which causes it to go straight, and when you release it, it spins in circles. I just built that randomly. I never worked with electronics or remote control or anything.
Will help you get your patents filed. We take 5% of the patent for 2 years and then release the patent back to you.
I'd rather create a hackerspace where we just make everything free and open source.
We need to help people patent their stuff, though.
I think you have to have more self-awareness on this issue, Tim. Because
are you calling me an ace of spades?
I think that for you, things are different because you're obviously highly intelligent. And so that is an unfair advantage. You know, you're talking about these crazy things you're creating and stuff. And
privilege.
Right. Well, it's a privilege of
privilege.
Intelligence that others don't have. And you have the privilege of maybe certain sort of the ability to just get something done because you put your mind to it or something. And others need the encouragement from others. And
would you? Sorry, I don't know if you're.
Yeah,
Keep telling me. Keep it coming.
Yeah, here I was, like, giving you compliments about being a genius, and you're trying to stop me. So I think that is what you have to. Not everybody can learn in the same environment. That's your criticism of university. So that's also my defense of university.
If you could go back in time and not take out the student loans, would you do it?
If I could do what?
Go back in time and not take out student loans, would you do it?
And not take. So if I didn't get this, yeah, I would. I feel like
so when I'm telling young people don't go to school, what I'm really saying is I often say this: if your parents are paying for it, if you're rich, by all means do what you want. It's the student loan system that's created. It is a predatory indentured servitude factory.
I would say I would take them out again. I couldn't have gone to school without them.
What would you need to go to school for?
Theater, acting.
But
and
I got a hot girlfriend. It was amazing. I was popular for the first time in my life.
And that's a degree that people would say, that's a sham, don't even do it. And, I got
It built my confidence like crazy.
Right, exactly. And I did music and philosophy, also kind of useless.
Oh, kind of music?
Jazz. I'm a jazz drummer.
Oh, cool.
Jazz
We'll jam later.